Okay, everybody, so we are back for the CBC podcast. Of course, on your screen, you guys can now behold the great topics we're going to be talking about this episode. And of course, I am your host, Armin, and I am here with Mitch.
What's up? You can find me at Mitch692.
And also Tristan.
And you can catch me at Control Breakers, and I want that God of War Netflix series.
Ah, is that the one with Momoa?
Oh, well, it's because the current director approved of it, and like it started on Twitter. People were actually trying to Twitter Netflix to see if they can do something to get it greenlit. They were trying to suggest the lead role for Kratos. It went from Batista to The Rock to Triple H. I'm like, are you guys really going in hard with this wrestler actors?
Okay, look, just hear me out. First, I no bias. I swear to God. Let's get The Witcher out there, then let's talk about God of War, okay?
Yeah.
Because I think
One at a time.
Exactly. It's like, come on. But I would love to see a God of War something. More based on the new stuff would be kind of good.
Yeah, they were going with
character.
1.5 seasons of the first game, and then the second and third season were 2 and 3, and then it goes into the current situation with God of War.
Ah, okay. Well, see, the thing is, I guess we'll kind of talk about it here for a minute. There's abilities to do all these good series. Like, I think most video games would be terrible as movies. I prefer them all as TV shows because it's like to try to shove everything that a game does into 2 hours just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, you could make it a trilogy.
Yeah?
Like, really, but then the suits wouldn't want that because you've got to have everything in one go. It's like, no, take your time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like world build. No, we got to have it all in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Got to do all 3 games in an hour and a half.
And I mean, if we just go back to the old, the 2 Titans movies starring my old boy, Sam Worthington, let's just slap Kratos' head on it, and that's how terrible the movies would be. So it's like, no, let's not do the movies. I'm still holding out hope for a third one. Come on. Wrath of whatever.
No.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. But maybe they'll get my other boy, Taylor Kitsch. He needs a career.
Oh, is he still acting? I thought he kind of left.
You know, we could probably get him on this podcast. He's not doing anything. It's like tweet it and be like, hey, you bored today? He's like, yeah. We want to rip into Gambit. Yeah. Want to fix your career by being on this crappy show that's going to get heard by more people than watch your movies? Come on. Oh, that's an insult to injury.
We'll give you a sandwich. Come on. Do it.
God damn. So, yeah, as always, just quick updates and stuff. As most of you guys have noticed on YouTube, that's the one. Jesus, how did I blank that name out? On YouTube videos.
They're all blurring together. That's why.
I know, right? People were like, hey, what the new format? A lot of people like it. They're just like, it's more personal and stuff. Generally, I'm going to try to do that, but sometimes it might not work out. That means if I'm on the road or if I'm really lazy or sick. So there you go. People have been asking the podcasts. Obviously, the podcasts are not going to change at all. Mitch and, Joe have what they're doing. We have what we're doing here. Regarding gaming, I want to start that back up as soon as I can fit a time slot into it, and I'm pretty sure Tristan does as well. So
yeah, people have been asking about that, or if I could do updates on the main channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, right. So that's like what I've been thinking about, and I'm like, I think we could pull something off. Maybe if we make it like a Twitch exclusive thing, and like we could something down the road. But like I've been telling people, some changes I want to make over the summer for the last couple of weeks are really going to take effect. Probably September, October. I want to have like everything in a new direction. So
yeah, me personally, I'm happy everyone likes the new format for some of the videos that I'm doing, but it takes a while to get all that stuff done in a video.
Right. But, yep. Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, because there's obvious production times and all that, and I'm just like, I'm finding it all so easier. People are like, oh man, you just kind of, it fits in front of the camera when I'm sitting in front of it. I was like, yeah, I find it actually easier than talking. So, just into a microphone. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll just stick with this and we'll see how it goes. And I'm glad people are enjoying it. I'm glad people are still enjoying the podcast. They're not getting anywhere. They're going to remain the same thing that you guys have heard for however long and whatever else. So, yeah, all the good updates, which means we could probably get into our first topic at hand. So, Shazam, we officially got the first photo of Zachary Levi, you know.
Oh, you mean Turbo Man?
I love it. I love that comparison. I'm like, you know what? If it makes me think of Turbo Man, I'm into it. Like, it's,
I just they managed to make worse boots than Captain America's Avengers. Because those things are big.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they captured the essence of that. That Shazam is still a boy inside and he's drinking soda along with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks good. It's a nice change of pace to what the DCU has been doing.
So, like, I have a few, just, it's like the minor issues about it that are, I guess, the most minor issues I can have with it. It's like, yes, we see that the suit is very padded, okay? Whatever. So isn't Ben Affleck's Batman suit and Henry Cavill's Superman, despite Henry Cavill having as much muscle as the suit has? So I don't know why they did it, but they didn't. That was the, choice. And like you said, like, the boots are pretty terrible, but being real, how much are we really going to see them? Like, it's like, yeah, they'll be in a couple scenes, but it's not what our attention's going to be at. Same with some of the color on the suit in the photo, but once again, it's a photo. So it's like, well, once we see the trailer, right, then we're going to have a clear vision of how they're going.
Yeah, you want to see how it all comes together once you see, like, the suit in action.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like the suit just in this picture. Like, I'll take the piss out the boots because the boots are horrible, but overall, I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think the suit has, like, those lines and everything. I think they add, like, that Spider-Man Homecoming element that kind of gives it that detail and depth that I really like in the suits. Like, it has that New 52 almost lines, but it doesn't overdo it because it's not on every single thing. Like, you remember, like, when the New 52 came out, it's like Wonder Woman's suit and her muscles all have the lines on the suit. I was like, this makes no sense. Like, so
the Wonder Woman corset was weird because it was predominantly like a dark brown, almost black, and then the red was just the highlights and the muscle. It's like, really? No, it's not. It looks a lot better now, but compared, no. Just like, ugh.
Yeah.
The further away and quickest we can get away from that old style of thinking, the better.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. And, like, I 100%, I really like what we're seeing here. I think it works. And in the long run, I think this is just by the images and, like, that poster we saw. What was it, like a Brazilian Expo or something? I don't even remember. German Expo, the one with him drinking like a milkshake.
I think he was drinking like a slushy. That's the one you were thinking about.
I thought that.
I think that was German. It was something European.
Yeah, it was some trade show or something.
Was it Cine Europe?
Oh, Cine Europe. Yep, that's the one. Yeah. Well, it's like it just looks far different enough and different tone-wise and everything that when you really think about it, like, I think I see what they're going for here, and I just hope they really stick with it. And on the other side of that, his arch nemesis, Black Adam, right? So that got an update from The Rock. It's been like 5 years since he was cast as Black Adam or something. And he's like, well, we're hoping we're going to start production at the end of next year, which means end of 2019. So realistically, you're looking at 1.5 to 2 years. So 2021 is probably when you're going to see that movie, if they actually start production. Now, a reminder, The Rock has, if you look at what upcoming movies he has, what the release dates are, and you give him a typical shoot, unless something of his gets canceled, it's probably not shooting next year. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think any of his movies are going to be canceled because he has Skyscraper coming out.
Yeah,
so I don't even get it where they say, or it goes, The Rock, look, picture this. You're in this movie, you are a security guard in a skyscraper. Some bad guys show up, and you got to get your family out.
But see, here's the thing. Just like that movie San Andreas where he bench presses like a building, this movie's going to make so much money because it's the Rock factor. Like, it's not going to be like, oh my God, $1 billion, but it's going to make its budget, and then some. It's going to be like, oh, it's in the profit margin.
No, but you wouldn't realize how like how bad they're trying to push this movie. I've been listening to Spotify for like the last 2 days, and all I've been hearing is The Rock trying to get on the mic and just try and sell this movie to me over and over every hour.
Yeah.
But what I don't get with Black Adam though is, wasn't Black Adam supposed to be like the tryout for Shazam?
Yes.
So what happened there? Why is Shazam now the tryout for Black Adam?
I don't know. Oh, it's so confusing because I think everybody can agree The Rock is probably one of the best examples of a dude that just came like out of obscurity with like wrestling, right? And it's like hit the mainstream, and he succeeded so hard that everybody knows him now. Like he's like a household top level actor, right? Everybody knows him.
Yeah, it's like his charisma just carried him through, and it catapulted him into stardom.
Well, I've had that moment where I mentioned, if my parents know something, that's kind of how I gauge if it's in the pop culture, especially if my mom knows something, right? Because like she doesn't go to the movies or anything. She barely watches movies. And even I was like, my dad and I were talking about upcoming movies, and she goes, wasn't that one guy you used to watch like a decade ago in wrestling? Isn't he playing something soon? And I was like, The Rock? She goes, yeah, he's in that movie that looks like that other movie with the bald guy. Obviously, she was referencing Die Hard, but she didn't know the names. I was like, if she knows who The Rock is, then clearly he's become like, the top level where he's just like, he's reached that step of his career where everybody knows him and it's a success. So it's weird because I want Black Adam to happen, but from what we're hearing, it's like there's going to be hints to him now in other movies, but not Shazam. It's like, look, if Shazam is here, then can we just get the Black Adam as a post-credit scene or something? Because these characters have to be related. But the way they're talking about it, it's like, oh no, Black Adam's going to be appearing alongside Superman or fighting Superman. It's like, look, that's not who he should be fighting. Like, no. At all.
Like, why can't Superman have, like, Brainiac or someone? Come on.
Yeah.
Because he has magic on his side. You can't really damage Superman unless it's magic or some other force. Is what they're trying to get at, even though Black Adam would suit more in the Shazam movie if they just alluded to him, and then they have, like a little reveal or a silhouette reveal at the end.
Well, so like a really obscure version of Green Lantern.
Yes.
I mean, I'll tell you guys right now, here's my feelings on it. And this is actually a good question because JMoore93 asked in the comments on Twitch here, so we're just going to kind of talk about it. He talks about if Shazam gets 70 plus on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Will that affect the DCEU going forward? And honestly, if it does, right? Hypothetically, if that movie does big number like that, or even higher, right? And the box office is good, my feeling is DC will be doing that, take a step back. And even The Rock said in an interview just like a day ago, he goes, oh, the DC universe is reconfiguring itself now. We're trying to figure out how to go forward. I'm telling you this right now. If Shazam makes like 500 million plus and it's good reviews, Black Adam is getting scrapped and he's going to get tossed into the Shazam sequel. Like, yeah. It's why waste time,
Or they can backpedal and put him into the Joker prequel movie.
Which one?
Pick your battles and choose your.
I legitimately didn't even know.
But no, I think Shazam has all the makings of it to be a hit that comes out of nowhere and good word of mouth if the movie's positive. Like the interest on it prior to the reviews is going to be low. I'm telling you right now, because the interest right now, gauging even movies coming next year, is really low. But if they come out with a spectacular trailer and figure out their marketing correctly, and then they come out and it reviews above a 70 or 75 on Rotten Tomatoes, and if it somehow gets in the high 80s, this movie is going to it's going to blow people away, because people are then going to go, oh, so it's another Wonder Woman scenario where you actually have a good movie. Okay, because people are still worried about the DC characters, and we see that, in everything that's happening. So I think there's a chance that this movie could be like a major shifting point in DC films.
But wouldn't there's a sense of irony there because Shazam overtook Superman in the comics in like the 19 whatever decade it was, and then DC tried to bury Shazam, and now Shazam has the opportunity to do the exact same thing again in movies. History repeats itself.
Yeah, I fully feel that's going to happen because Shazam was big, and yeah, DC then try to bury him when like. Because DC is made up of a bunch of companies that they bought out. You know, like they bought all these characters from different people, and that's why there's some of that disconnect between a lot of the characters in the world they're existing in. And when you really think about it, I think Shazam is going to show Superman up, and they're going to be like, you know what? Let's put Superman on the back burner. And I honestly think that's why Man of Steel 2 isn't happening or announced yet, because they understand that as well.
Okay. Shazam was more popular than Superman, I think, in the beginning of the 1940s. This is when it started happening, and then you had the whole DC and Marvel thing a little bit later. So
was it really that early in the 90s? I thought it was later on than that.
No, it's that early. I guess it's because they started running low on what they could do with Superman at the time, and then and then Shazam shows up, and ooh, he's brand new, and he's a kid.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting time.
If that happens again in the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for the films, it is going to happen. Like, it's 100% going to happen. I don't see a world in which where Shazam, looking the way it does and looking as fun as it's undoubtedly going to be in such a different tone to everything DC has done, I don't see a world where people go watch the movie and they go, you know, I wish I had more of that neck snapping. That would really make me feel good. It's like, no, that's not
I think
gonna
if you put Superman, like Cavill Superman, in Shazam, you could maybe win people over back. Or win people back on it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. They'll need to justify it and show people that there's a different direction for that character. That's not just a repeat of Shazam, and Shazam's not just going to repeat Superman. Like, just make them slightly different.
Yeah, it's going to be really sad if Shazam becomes like the Superman figure of this new configuration of the DCU if it goes well.
Yeah.
Well, they literally have the ultimate chance to make a comeback, and hopefully they don't screw it up. You know, it's yeah. And you know what? Let's quickly just roll it into it, since I guess we'll make this a little bit more of a DC topic. Aquaman, those figures that came out. Aquaman comic costume, Black Manta looks legit ripped out of the comic, and Mera still looks perfect. Dude, that Aquaman suit blows me away. I can't believe they're actually going to have him wear that, which is like, that's all I've wanted to see, damn it.
It's going to take a bit of adjusting, for me, at least for me anyway, to get used to seeing Momoa wearing something like that.
Yep.
If it was someone slightly smaller, a bit more streamlined, I think it would maybe work better, but I need to actually see Momoa wearing it properly, not like a statue or the other look was a statue, I suppose, as well. But just need to see a proper look.
Yeah, it's surprising me on every turn, every time we see everything more for Aquaman. Like, for example, I went back and just kind of looked at the original first, pictures we saw of here's Batman v Superman, and here's Justice League. Here's them being directed by the director and some set photos. And all those pictures, you even see Aquaman, it's like Jason Momoa playing the guitar, and it's like they made those pictures dark. They physically put gritty filters over them. And then you look at this and you compare it, and it looks like Wonder Woman. They're not putting filters over actual photos they're given to media. It seems like they're understanding that they're taking a different approach to it. And I think that's James Wan being like, look, guys, I took this on when you were still pushing for the Justice League vision we had, but I didn't get started till a couple weeks into all the problems showing up for Justice League, because when he started, Justice League was in that turmoil stage, so they probably had a chance to course correct, and it looks like they did. So I'm hopeful for Aquaman.
And plus, he's like, come on, the world has color. You know it, I know it. There's no gray filter. Just put it down.
That's kind of the funny thing, because if any movie should have a grey filter, it's an underwater movie.
It's Aquaman, right?
Because underwater is not really colourful. It's black. But, I don't know. I think I've got hope for Aquaman. Everything I've seen so far looks good. I just need to see, obviously, how everything's going to be in motion. And I don't know if that first trailer at Comic Con is gonna have any underwater stuff. If it's like that hard to do as they're making it out, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, well, the fact they just built sets for underwater and then they're going to add like a filter over it already kind of gives you a hope of, okay, this can work. Like, they're not going 100% underwater CG, which is like good because you have
Just
to mix,
do the old Shape of Water thing and just put like Vaseline in the lens.
Yep.
Sorted. CGI some bubbles in there. There you go.
Exactly. Like, it looked fine. Like, I didn't even know that wasn't real underwater in Shape of Water, so they did it perfectly well.
I think the scene where the bathroom floods is practical for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's all like Vaseline on lens.
Yep.
It's quite funny.
So, yeah, that'll finish up our DC talk and transition us over into Kevin Feige has an update on the introduction of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and everything else related to the Fox characters into the MCU. So, Mitch, what's the update?
He says he has a vague idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that.
Yeah.
That man has everything planned.
Uh-huh.
He knows exactly what he's doing. Like, he's no doubt got like 3 rooms filled with ways and how it all fits.
Oh yeah.
But like, don't give me this vague crap.
Well, so a part of me believes him, and a part of me understands what he's saying. And what he's telling people is, look, we don't have a script because legally, Marvel Studios cannot hire people to write a script. It's not their property. But, just like he said, for every single character that they don't own, he has a contingency plan, and he knows how they want to work them in. And he recently even said in an interview, when they were working on Civil War, he walked into the writer's room and gave them, the Spider-Man web sign, meaning get to work, and they had to double take, like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, put them in the way we discussed it. Because they had ideas. They understood, if this moves forward, here's how we do it. And that's why they even said, oh, we just swapped out Ant-Man easily for, Spider-Man because we had a contingency plan. It's like, it makes sense. I think that's what he's saying. Like, if tomorrow they were to get everything approved, right? He probably has an idea of how to introduce any of these characters into any of the movies. So it's like...
So like basically you could have a scene ready for Wolverine to appear, and if not, just replace it with one of the other characters if it doesn't go through.
Yeah,
right.
I can still imagine him having scripts. They're just not called X-Men or Fantastic Four.
Right.
It's like just replace names. Like, how
Badger Man.
Exactly. You know how like casting calls do it, and they have like different names, but the description's spot on. Like, just do that. Like, just write this script. You'll get the money for it when we get the rights. So. He's got like 8 of those just all lined up, to fit in the timeline.
And I think that's like one of the things you have to look at Marvel Studios as a whole as. He recently even did interviews talking about the next decade of the MCU and how they're specifically planning it and talking about it already and trying to line things up. And Peyton Reed even said, it's like we're setting up pieces right now that you don't think are going to pay off, but they're going to pay off. So to me, it's like, I think what they're saying is like, get ready for the next decade to mimic the past 3 phases, but we're going to enter those in a very different way after Avengers 4, right? Like, it's going to be handled differently to some degree because they haven't announced what the future is yet, and they won't till after Avengers 4. And then, of course, shuffling some movies. I mean, Black Panther 2 undoubtedly has that new February date because it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta get that money.
People was like trying to tell me that it was going to be 2021 anyway. It's like, look, they're not ever going to move that movie out of February.
No. Nope.
It's like Captain Marvel's not ever going to be out of March.
Exactly.
It's just simple.
Yeah, it was probably just some planning from Disney saying, "Are you sure Black Panther's going to be en route for February? Okay, let's move out Maleficent movie, put it down in December."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's probably like Cougar's schedule might have just freed up slightly, or he's officially signed on. So, just got to wait for that announcement. But it's definitely there's no way in hell they were going to put that like in a May.
No, why would you want it? Like, look at the marketing behind Black Panther and look at the importance of the month it came out in. You would literally have to be like insane to move it out of all that synergy. Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, you wouldn't do that. And this automatically, the moment they moved out, I read that, I was like, oh, it's Black Panther. There's nothing else they're shoving in there. There is literally nothing else.
And the fact that they only had one February date from the 9 they announced, like that was clearly for that movie, and this is clearly for this one.
Yep.
Like, there's no like ifs or buts about it. But
yeah. And just kind of looking at, I guess, the future of it. By now, like, we're seeing all this Fox stuff that's kind of getting brought up, and interesting things getting tossed around, and rumors and lawsuits and Disney stuff. Realistically, it's still happening next year because it doesn't look like anything's going to break it apart, but there's always obviously constant news that it might fall apart. But
I wanted to ask you about that, like this lawsuit thing. Like, from what I've read, it doesn't. Like, I don't know if I'm getting it right, because a Fox shareholder is suing Fox because Disney didn't show Hulu and Sky projections.
Yeah. I mean, they can do that. It's within their right to do that, but there's really nothing else they can do.
I don't understand why Disney needs to show projections for two companies I don't currently own.
Okay, so here's how I understand it. And this took quite a bit of trying to figure everything out, reading the lines and trying to understand what's happening and looking at the stupidity it's worded really stupidly, which is why I think there's so much confusion. So apparently, yes, the dude is suing because he thinks that the offer that's being made by Disney is undervaluing Fox's assets. AKA, this dude and other people that he's talked to want more money. And believe it or not, yes, $52 billion was undervalued. Even $72 billion plus the debt, many people are saying is still undervalued for how much you're going to get. So what they're saying is, hey, look, if you want all of our stuff on your streaming service and we're being guaranteed, it's going to make us more money if we sell to you, show us the numbers of how much your properties make on all these streaming services so we're confident, because apparently those numbers have not been disclosed. It's kind of like Netflix. We don't have official numbers on how many people watch their shows. We have analysts that look at it at peak hours and engage with polls and stuff, and they can extrapolate numbers out of that. That's the only way we know show views for any of these digital streaming services, and he wants them to be made public now, which this could be a bad thing because it could hurt people, because it's like if you get Runaways numbers and they go, Runaways was actually only watched by 1 million people. Then you go, so it's not watched with any sort of engagement, and The Flash on CW gets 3 times that. That's not valuable to us. So that's my understanding of what's happening. Realistically, is it going to work? Maybe, but how I see it is probably they're going to disclose the numbers behind closed doors and agree upon something, because they're not making those numbers public. I want people to understand that.
Yeah, like for most any analytics for numbers, like in TV, most of the time they don't reveal any of that sort of data at all.
Yep.
You just get a rough estimate of people that just analyze the data and say, this is what happened with this show. It's been seen by this many people, and it's being recommended by this many people.
Right. Like for example, Daredevil. How they reached the numbers that over 5 million people watched season 1 was they studied, I believe, about 20,000 people that they polled and said, hey, we don't know what you watch, but you have a Netflix account. Can you just log everything you watch and how much you watched of it and send it back to us? And out of those 20,000-ish people, a certain amount came back and they go, okay, if this person represents X amount of people, then fine. Then 10,000 people for this every one person. So they're kind of doing it like those Nielsen TV ratings, where it's not an exact measurement. It's definitely not. But it's the closest approximation you can get. And the moment any of these streaming services show their hand, they kind of start to suffer. It's just the nature of the beast. And the only reason, because someone might bring it up, and WWE Network does this, they disclose some of their subscriber numbers. That's because they're an entire channel devoted to just wrestling, and they know their bar, and they know how many subscribers they get and how many they need to increase. So they're doing that because they realize that the future is not on TV. They're trying to get away from pay-per-views. That's why all their pay-per-views are on the network and not really on pay-per-view anymore, because it's a dying archaic system. In a couple years, all these like Netflix and Hulu, they're all going to start giving you numbers because TV's more or less going to be dead. But for right now, this lawsuit is holding things back because of people want more money naturally. So it's
I assumed it just boiled down to that, and it's like greedy execs. It's like, you're getting X amount of billions. Like, calm down.
Right.
But like every article I read, it was never really clear why it was needed for that. It's just like, I don't know. It was all weird, and like no one could really give me an answer. So
yeah, it was so strange. It took me so long reading. Like, I've told people before, I like to trade some stocks. I don't invest in Comcast or nothing, none of that crap. But like, I'm just kind of interested in that whole facet. So I constantly read what's happening in the market and stuff. So I'm trying to understand it. And the way that came out, I didn't understand a single thing they said. Like, I was like, what does this even mean?
It just boils down to sometimes the most complicated question it gets the most simplest answer.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's 100% factual. So after that, we're transitioning over to our next Spider-Man scoop, I guess. It looks like Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is going far from home. Awesome. This seems good, and essentially how this happened is Captain Marvel has wrapped shooting, so there's no reason Samuel Jackson is uploading photos of him getting ready to shoot again and tagging the exact location they're shooting Spider-Man Far From Home, which you just connect the dots and go, well, he's in the movie.
With the rumors that Jessica Drew is going to be in it, they're clearly going like the Ultimates route. I don't know if they're going to take more from Miles' story with Jessica Drew, but a more Ultimate Spider-Man is not a bad thing. So
I mean, Jessica Drew was more of a Peter thing for the most part until Miles came, anyway.
Yeah, but like the way it seems to be, you can't do the whole clone thing in the movies because that's just dumb.
Right? Yeah.
Oh. I need my transgender representation.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they did it that way because it's a legitimate way that's happened in the comics that you can just put that in there. But at the same time, if she already exists and she's part of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Fury, then it has to be more Miles, surely. Plus, if there's whole talk of him getting a new suit, well, Jessica Drew gave Miles a new suit in the Ultimates.
Yeah. I mean, that would kind of make a lot more sense. And if you, like, all the rumors regarding Jessica Drew, fine, I'm inclined to believe those, right? So if you're adding Nick Fury in there, does this kind of hint towards a new S.H.I.E.L.D. being reformed? Like,
I'd imagine so, yeah.
Like this time even more global?
Perfect time to make it Sword if they can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, by the time this movie comes out, they'll probably own Fox anyway, so Sword won't ever be a problem.
And let's just be real. They've made deals with characters before, and everybody at Fox knows they're going to be acquired. So why not make goodwill and just give them Sword? Like, just, Vic, here you go, just use it. Fine, do your thing.
It's like, look, you're not ever going to touch this thing. Just let us use it.
Yep.
It's just a word at this point. It's nothing huge.
So, I mean, if Nick Fury's going to take up a spot of one of the core MCU characters that has to appear, who's the second one? Because we recently found out Doctor Strange is not appearing in it.
I still think it's going to be Iron Man. Because there's talk of Pepper Potts being in it, so why would you not have Tony?
True. But... yeah. I don't know, it's a weird thing all around, because this movie seems to be... how do I say it? It seems to be very loaded with unexpected things. Like, if you would have told me, okay, make a sequel to Homecoming, what you think it would be, I'd be like, okay, his senior year probably, he's finally going to meet MJ or Gwen, and he's going to fight a villain in New York, and they're like, oh no, it's globetrotting, MI6, S.H.I.E.L.D. You're like, what? I never expected any of this, like,
We got Spider again, yay. Oh, what was the Miles name they were going to give him? Was it Spidey?
Oh, yes. No, well, actually, the funny thing about that, it wasn't even an original Miles name. It was one of Peter's old aliases.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they could work that in there and actually make it work, I'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he just says it as a quip and makes light of it. It's like, no, you're Spider-Man, not Spidey.
For Far From Home, I could see either like Dr. Banner showing up or or Shuri.
I think Shuri would work. Honestly, I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
let's say Shuri, because Spidey has to go to, maybe somebody gets badly injured and they go to a Wakandan outreach program in London or something, and hey, look, Shuri's here for the time being. Let's do a little bit between these two characters, because both have said they want to really badly interact with the other because they're the same age but completely different types of, teenager. I'm like, that could work, and I think that would be honestly quite amazing. Kind of set up Spidey being like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, I guess.
Also, you could be really cheeky and say, because spoilers, T'Challa in Infinity War, she's Black Panther now.
No,
He's Spider-Man and Black Panther. Sorted.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you put it that way, you could, with what is it, African mythology, she, instead of calling him Spider-Man, she'd call him a Nazi.
Oh.
Why would she call him a Nazi?
Yeah,
Why would...
because it's African for the spider.
Really?
In some, like in the basic translations, but
Oh no, colonizers!
I legit never knew that. I'm gonna Google that.
I'm really just excited about how different this Spider-Man movie seems to be, and let's bring up the fact that people are worried because they're like, Spider-Man's not global. I was like, have you guys not been reading the last 5 years of Spider-Man? He's literally owned a company overseas.
not my Spider-Man.
Guys, Spider-Man goes into space fucking constantly. Where do you think he got the Venom symbiote? He was in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Not
The
my
dude's not
Spider-Man.
ground level.
He's not Tony Stark.
Hashtag remake Spider-Man Far From Home.
The dude hasn't been ground level since longer than most of us have been alive.
It's true.
No.
It's really true.
I mean, if you put it this way, one of his D-list villains is a talking Stegosaurus.
Yeah. Come on now, he's not. Yes, he works best when he's at ground level. He's not a stranger to going out of that place.
Right.
Let's be honest here.
And I think people are kind of gripping too strongly onto the old Spider-Man movies. It's like, guys, please move past this. Like,
People will never move past those movies.
no, they won't. It's kind of sad.
I mean, Peter, like when Mitch said, he has been to space, even with the Fantastic Four, geeking out over Reed Richards because Reed is surprised that a young one actually likes science because he's been trying to get Johnny interested into it, but he just blows him off.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I have a feeling that once Marvel Studios gets the Fantastic Four, right? And once that movie is out there, Spider-Man in the MCU is going to be old enough that we're probably going to see him and Johnny as that best friend dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's perfectly going to line up. Like, whether they get them in the next 2 years and it takes them another 4 years to get them in there, by the time that happens, Spidey will be out of school and he's going to perfectly line up with Johnny. Like, I'm so excited by that idea, and like, Spidey.
Let's not forget Iceman. We're gonna get that done as well.
Oh,
Have the
finally.
trio.
Oh.
As long as he still lives at home without May, they have that whole thing. That's just me.
But how could they all fit in that tiny apartment?
They all fit in the tiny little house. They can
But
make
the tiny
it up.
house is bigger than the apartment.
Well, since apparently people think Stark should leave Stark Industries to Peter, I don't know why. Maybe Stark can pay for a house. They do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I want Spidey because this is a different world. In the Raimi universe and all that, and Amazing Verse, it's like the Spidey they had there had to be constrained by nothing else being there. So he had to be a different type of hero. Now that he's in the MCU, alien invasions are quite clearly commonplace in this place. You know, it's been like,
Yeah.
it's under a decade. It's been twice now. New York's been attacked by aliens. It's essentially turning into comic book New York. So it's like, he's got to be more global at this point, especially if he's younger and he's going on a field trip. So if he's chasing Mysterio, you're adding the whole aspect of MI6 being involved, and maybe MI6 is like a new reformation of S.H.I.E.L.D., like you said, maybe Sword that we don't know about, and that's going to be their thing. It's like, I like the way they're taking this because it fits the MCU mold when you stop and think about it more. You know, it's not the same thing we've gotten before, which is what I think this franchise has needed, because I don't want the same Spidey we've gotten before, because we got that 5 times.
Exactly. Like, why would you ever want the same thing again?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want that, go watch those movies. They're right there.
No, my safe space. I want my safe space.
Like, you know they're going to do the safe Spider-Man stuff because they're building up to the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Like, you can build up to that and do different things at the same time.
Yeah, exactly how I feel about it. So I think it's definitely going to go in a direction that a lot of people aren't expecting. I'm expecting this movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, is going to have a Last Jedi-like effect on a lot of people, because people want the same thing for Spider-Man. They hate a character growing up. Like, just look at it in the comics. The moment he's taken out of familiarity, people start freaking out and hating it and sending death threats to the writer, because it's like, no, that's not Spider-Man. I'm like, dude, just stop. You're basing all your knowledge on a pair of movies. It's like, no, it's
either that or the cartoons. And if you look at the comics, most of the situations are ripped straight from them.
Yep.
And so, like, it's so weird. Like, people like make fun of this Spider-Man because he's young, and they go, "Oh, he's just a Spider Boy." No, he's Iron Man Jr. It's like Spider-Man was supposed to be young.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like it's everything. It's like, oh, why does he want to be an Avenger so bad? Because he wanted to be in the Fantastic Four so bad.
Yep.
Like, literally everything you complain about was what Lee and Ditko did. R.I.P. Ditko.
Yeah. Like, there's even the argument is, why would Spider-Man go to the suburbs? He knows he can't web swing.
It's like, he lives in the suburbs.
Like literally in an issue, that problem came up where he tried to get out of the suburbs, but he had to hitch a ride on a car.
And like, the only complaint I will give for people complaining about the new Spider-Man is, why doesn't he do any of the big swinging through Times Square and stuff? And they explained that with interviews. They said he has to be more grounded before he can leap off the Empire State Building. After Infinity War and stuff, where he's been that high and he knows now, I guarantee you're going to get one of those epic swings down, through Times Square, and he's going to do the epic pose. But the thing is, you have to build up to that Spider-Man. He can't just be good at everything in one scene.
I mean, just give him time. We saw in the first movie, he still was afraid of heights at the Washington Monument.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, he'll beat the Sinister Six in Times Square, and then he'll do the thing.
Exactly.
He'll do the thing with the flag thing. It's coming.
Exactly. But imagine how much more gratifying that's going to be when we haven't seen that scene twice a movie, every movie leading up to it. When the first time we see it is Spidey fighting for his life, that's going to be amazing. So it's like, just let them do what they're doing, because how many times has Marvel Studios in 20 movies now failed us? I would argue not once. They've just
do it the next one.
They made 2 movies. They made 2 movies that are But other than that, they've been hitting home runs and great films. So it's like, come on, guys, just trust the process. You've trusted it for a decade. Like, they're not going to fail now.
Every one of the 20 movies has opened up at number 1.
No, trust me, Mitch. Captain Marvel is going to flop. No one wants an SJW hero.
It's true. It's true.
Yay, Wonder Woman 2. Yay. If you hype that movie.
It's crazy. It's just what it is. Spider-Man is in good hands. I'm glad he's going to be leaving New York, and I'm glad he's going to be in New York for 3, where he's probably going to fight the Sinister Six with a couple more superheroes by his side. It's happening. So whether you like it or not, get used to it. And the final topic we now have at hand is the Ant-Man and the Wasp Spoilercast. Spoilers
I am
alert.
hypothetically here. Hypothetically.
Yeah, the UK gets it a month late. Terrible. Just terrible.
I mean, to be fair, we don't get this movie now because of the World Cup, and we're doing quite good. So
yeah.
Like, don't you also get like Infinity War physically, like in September?
Yeah, but we always get home releases late.
That's true.
And every TV show we get late. So
yeah, much late. That's terrible marketing by them. It's like,
We
how
still haven't finished the season of Shield,
oh my god, it's crazy.
and we've only just finished Runaways. So.
And see how that happens, folks. So if you're from the UK or somewhere that hasn't gotten the movie, you might want to stay away from this topic and discussion. So let's get into Ant-Man and the Wasp. A lot of stuff happens in this movie, and that's not to say it's not a movie that takes itself 100% seriously, because this is
it's like the last one. It's still sort of a heist movie, but
yep.
You have like a lot of laughs along the way because, like you said, it doesn't take itself that seriously.
Honestly, I laughed at this movie more than most comedies I've seen this year. So
yeah, Baba Yaga.
Oh, it's just the character moments, and what really gets me is every character that you loved. Like you think in this movie, they're like, oh man, Louise was so loved by everybody. They're gonna put him too much in the movie, and he's gonna get boring. And they do just enough so you want more, but they don't give you too much. It's literally smart how they handle it.
Yeah, it's like Lewis was put in the movie just enough that everyone got their fill of Lewis with the laughs, and they added a little bit more extras with that one bit of the scene where he was talking with Wasp, saying that I think I would want a super suit too.
Yep.
With minimum powers, or even no powers at all, just a suit.
See, I don't really want to be down on it, but they did not need those guys in this movie at all.
See, they didn't, and I agree with that, but if you would have cut them out, I think it would have felt like more of an empty movie, right? Like, if that makes sense.
I don't know.
It feel like, that Scott didn't have his friends around him anymore.
Yeah.
That made sense. Because I feel like Scott bonded with those ex-convicts while he was locked up, and he'd have them around him because they were buds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like, it's just like, I don't know. It's the way the movie was written. Like, you didn't really need Scott either.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
I mean, I know, because like
Yeah.
it was played up. It was played up. It was played up that Scott was just convenient. It wasn't really his movie.
I mean,
like, he had that one legitimate reason because they needed him for Janet.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
like,
Hope could have done literally everything by
just being real, this movie realistically should have just been called The Wasp, featuring Ant-Man, because it is her movie, and that's kind of the interesting thing in this, because everybody walked away going, well, Paul Rudd and the rest of the movie was good, but man, Wasp, I'm like, yeah, she was the show stealer here, without doubt. No one's going to argue against that. And there's a lot of elements that in this movie, I think, were conveniently placed just to give everybody a thing to do. Like, hey, we're ex-cons. Like, we knew what that was going to be. We talked about that the moment we saw that first set photo that said ex-con. We're like, oh, these characters are here for one reason only, because they have to be. And you can see that the setup for the third movie, if there's a third movie, is,
oh, there's going to be a third movie. They're not going to leave it as it is.
Exactly. It's
There's
like,
no way.
Those three are going to be more integrated into it, which I'm okay with. I like their characters. I like what they're doing, and they give me laughs, which I like that. I like laughing at a movie. So
I think, because my initial thing watching this is it's a very strange movie. Mm-hmm. It's very oddly made. It abruptly starts, it abruptly ends, and I don't think it's long enough.
It feels like a Bridger movie, like what was happening like after Civil War, and then it does its thing, and then it goes into the end, and it goes through till to the end of Infinity War.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just quickly, the dank one in the chat, it's not going to be Stinger. We do not mention that name. She's going to be Stature.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I mean, Stinger was the worst thing Nick Spencer's ever written. If you say otherwise, you're wrong. Stature through and through.
Like I can't believe Marvel has done this. First, they gave us a talking tree and a talking raccoon, and then they made us believe that an ant could get to the size of a dog and learn how to play the drums.
They showed that in the trailer,
yep.
And I was like, "Oh, like, you did a Sony? Why?"
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I originally I was wondering when he was gonna do the drums, like the full set, and it is at the end. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
uh,
But no, like, I think for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I kind of needed 20 extra minutes.
yeah.
Because, like, with the way the movie is, you cut out Luis and that stuff, just give me more Janet. Because we got nothing with Janet. She touched Ghost and that was it. It's just like, oh, I wanted Janet, but...
Right.
I mean, she has microverse powers now.
Yeah, but, like, how does that work? They don't explain anything.
Yeah,
Well, she
they
did.
don't.
She said even she doesn't know.
Yeah, but, like, you could have at least spent another 10 minutes with her character. She literally comes out and the movie ends. It's like,
I mean,
we spent like 5-10
she did take
minutes
over
with the
Scott's
ex-cons.
body.
Yeah, but we spent like 5-10 minutes with the ex-cons who did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Janet who has something to do and she doesn't get anything. Like, it's either needed 20 more minutes or cut them out. Because let's face it, Luis was only there to tell the same joke from the first one again.
Yep. Because people loved it. That's the thing. It felt like...
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So, as much as I love the movie, right, and I really do, but it felt more of a, hey, it's Ant-Man 2.0 than any other movie. Like, the Thor movies have a distinct evolution. The Iron Mans do. The Captain America, certainly. Each one is more different than any other one. The Avengers do. This was the most basic follow-up that you could possibly do with the safest repeat of the first movie. Like, it wasn't that next step. It was just like, hey, it's more of what you love because we're surprised anybody loved the first one. And I agree with a lot of complaints that people have said that. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I said too. It's like, that's what it felt like,
Well, I thought that's what they were going for. If potentially in the next Avengers we get a more serious side to Scott in dealing with what happened after Infinity War.
I mean, we're gonna get a different side of Scott. I think. I don't know if it's going to be. If we could say it's going to be serious, but I don't think this character has the potential to be serious. I don't think that's in its nature, but
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, he can be, but I'm not like it's gonna be like serious like all the time.
so he's not going to get like a Captain America level of serious. He's
Yeah.
going to still be.
Yeah.
He'd be probably more focused. Might be a better word. For Scott. But I don't know. I really enjoyed the movie. It's just there's a lot of problems with it, and like the whole yes, it being like a day or 3 days in the life of Scott, however long it is. Like it's fine. It works. Like the characters I'd say are stronger than the first one. Like they nail Hank Pym in this, and they kind of give him his own Ultron in a way. With Ghost, it's like, oh look, your work's coming back. You done goofed. Like that, they absolutely nailed that part. Like they nailed Hope, Janet for what we saw of her in the 30 seconds she was there is great. The fact that they didn't give us a villain, and like I'm thankful for that. Like why even try follow Thanos?
Yep.
I mean,
just do
if you put it basically, Hank was the villain again. 'Cause he created everything.
Yeah. We saw like Hank actually got something to do in this movie, thank God.
Yeah.
Even if he was just sit in a chair and look at green screen, but it did green screen look good. But like, it's just, I don't know, it's just the way it was. They did something weird with it, and it's kind of, it took me out. It's just like, ugh, I don't like how you did that. Go stop.
Like I said, I'm 50-50 on it because I really like it, but it is a more basic follow-up. And there is issues I do have with it, with how some of the elements were handled. Like, some of the comedy, I thought some of the stuff with the ant, like, okay, that's going to be, I guess, a running gag.
Wait, you don't like Ulysses S. Grant?
Antonio Banderas. To be honest, like the humor in it was just as funny as the first one to me.
Yeah.
But I think the first one was far better made.
I agree with that. And here's something else that I had a big problem with. You remember in the first Ant-Man, when he would shrink down, they would make the scene almost like a spectacle. Like when he's in that like party and down the sink, and like in the bathtub. It had this scale where everything was grandiose and it looked like they were conveying. It's like, hey, look, he's small, but everything is big. That's the movie, right? In this, I never had that one scene where I felt that sense of scale and intensity, and like him being tossed around and kicked around. They play around with it, like when she's running on the knives and throwing stuff, but I never felt like I really got down to that ground level, and they kind of let me live in a smaller world like I did in the first one. And maybe that was their intention, because like, oh, you had that in the first one, but that's one of my favorite elements of the first movie, because it truly felt like there was a sense of scale. And I don't know if that was...
I think it's just because of how like hectic the plot was.
Yeah, I think that
not
is.
hectic in like a bad way. Like, you know, they're in a rush. They've only got a certain amount of time to get this done. And I think it's just, you know, you can't really get settled into anywhere. But I think, like, in most movies that would work against it. I think for this one it kind of works for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get what you're saying. Like, you know, like, let us be in, like, not the microverse, but like the tiny land where everything's huge.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was the only part that really kind of grinds on me. And like, I'm still one of the people that actually liked Yellow Jacket. So I thought Ghost was a good, different type of quote unquote villain. You know, and I'm like, yeah, Yellow Jacket was bare bones, and you know the actor did what he needed to, and now we have a different type of villain that's not really doing it for anything, but it's the pain she has, and they say she's been around for a while. So I'm like, that's cool, and she survived. She's around now. So I'm like. So there's the intent the character is going to come back, right?
And didn't the director say that Yellow Jacket may still be around?
Yeah, he said he'd like to think he's alive still. Which, to be fair, I never got the impression that he died. It's like everything's just shrinking. Why would we've seen them shrink the entire movie?
Yeah.
Well, I just think he's dead. But no, Ghost is definitely going to come back. You know, the whole post-credit scene is like, oh, we need to get more quantum energy for Ghost to help her out.
Yep. Yeah, so
maybe Thunderbolts?
Maybe. That's the prevailing theory. I don't know.
Also, shout out, her dad was Egghead. So well done, Derrickson, for putting that. Oh,
Yeah.
Not Derrickson, what is his name? Reed.
Yeah.
Is it Peyton Reed? Yeah. Damn.
Scott Derrickson literally stepped in there and was like, they won't let me do Doctor Strange 2 yet. Put
So do you guys think Scott's going to use the quantum energy to help open a time portal?
Yeah.
Since he's stuck there?
Yeah.
We know he's time traveling, so that's clearly how. You know, it makes sense why they've cast an older Cassie Lang as well.
Yep.
So that's why she's going to be in there. And that's why Stark looks kind of older, I assume, with the shield badge in the set pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes in that timeline, sees his daughter, gets Stark, goes back.
And then we get a heist.
Man,
to get all the other stones.
Why does it seem like Ant-Man is going to be a pretty big focal point of Avengers 4?
Because they couldn't have all the original Avengers in the first movie, so they're going to fix that with time mumbo jumbo now and give us the Founders statue. I am standing by that statue. I will never
instead of Hank and Janet is gonna be a Scott and Hope.
Yeah. That's it. Release has happened, dude. It's gonna be so epic, dude. What if the credits of Avengers 4 are just like Age of Ultron with the statue, but it is the my god,
actual Founders.
Can't handle. That'd be too epic. Too epic, I tell you.
It's just the one thing they need. It's like, can we just have this statue?
They rewrite history, and Hank Pym at the post-credit scene is sitting down, and he's like, boy, you know what we need? A big old AI based on my brain algorithm. Give us a proper Ultron finally so people can shut up. Oh. I mean, technically they could then, because they would wipe out Age of Ultron.
I mean, it depends how they handle it, isn't it?
Yeah. If they change all history.
You could do that thing where, like, Ultron starts talking to Hank, and then Hank does it that way.
Ooh. Yeah.
Give Hank Pym something more to do in the third one, because I need a Hank and Janet at least half movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at that de-aging technology. Remember the first time they used it in, like, Civil War was really where they pushed it. I mean, it cost close to, I think they said $5 to $8 million to do a minute and a half of Robert Downey Jr. Now they're using it more, and it looks like they're gonna be using it more and more. And I mean, Disney, when they first started using that in Tron Legacy, it looked like Episode 2 and like the prequels. Like it was. Oof. It was rough.
I remember watching Tron Legacy and not finding it rough. Looking back at it now, it's just like, ugh.
Oh yeah,
It's really bad. But,
it's back in the day where we would have a moment where we're like, dude, look at this. Kingdom Hearts looks exactly like Pixar. Now you go back, you're like, man, I was one dumb kid. Now it's like that type of thing. In hindsight, you're like, oh damn. It's interesting how they're going to be handling this, but yeah, overall, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think we're all in agreement. We enjoyed it, and it was a good movie. It was good.
Another good movie.
It was the palate cleanser I needed for the most part until I got PTSD at the end.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great, and you knew it was going to happen anyway. Like, well, I wouldn't expect both Wasps to go.
Well, I was expecting like the ant to turn to dust at the end, but nope, he's still going.
Yeah. Well, at least you know half of them have gone because Feige said it affected animals. So
that's true. Everything in the universe that's alive was affected by it. It's like, oh, damn.
But why is it taking this long for someone to even bring that up? Like, how did no one think of that? It's like, does that mean all animals have gone?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I guess we're gonna get on to our first Q&A question here. So this one comes from JBoard93. He asks, in regards to Spider-Man in his future, do we think he should cameo in other films to build up his next film? So I assume he's assuming more cameos, in general, kind of like how Marvel has been doing in a lot of their movies, kind of to build out the world. And to me, realistically, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I think a perfect fit for him would be to kind of start introducing a few mutants and maybe Kamala Khan and stuff like that into his school life, and then you take it that route. And also, on the other hand, I would love it if he stopped by in the inevitable X-Men movie, if he goes and talks to, Professor X, kind of like he did in the 90s cartoon, being like, hey, is there anything we could do about this? He's like, dude, you're not a mutant. You're mutated, but you're not, it's a kind of deal with that aspect, too, because at some point I think they're going to have to deal with Peter and his powers and how it's always ruining his life,
Yeah, no, basically, Professor X is like, I just help people deal with their changes. I can't take them away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he could if he wanted to, make you forget you got powers.
I know, but then it just happens all over again. It's just a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, what other things do you guys think they should set up in future Spider-Man movies? If they came to you and were like, okay, what do you guys think we should do, introduce, do some crossovers? What do you think they should put in there?
Well, in regards to him saying about cameo in other films before his next one, he can't be in Captain Marvel.
Right.
That's a prequel. He wouldn't be alive. We know he's in Avengers, and that's the last movie before his one.
Mm-hmm.
So, not really much ways of cameo. Let's talk about Spider-Man 3, then sure, put him in everything, because why not? It's Spider-Man. But I think bringing the younger heroes like a Kamala Khan, maybe a Sam Nova, or White Tiger, or whoever else you want to do. Sure, bring them in through school.
Yeah.
Or just have him hear about someone in New Jersey and he goes across the pond and he sees Kamala Khan or something like that. Why not?
Yeah, because you have to understand that Marvel's business model now it's kind of like the comics, where they're like, where can we put an Easter egg that's probably going to pay off in the future? Because they're in the whole world building kind of mentality, and they understand how they have to do it, Yeah,
I mean, because it's a living, breathing world. For the world of heroes, it's not uncommon for another hero to be in the same certain area as another operating hero, and maybe offer some help or just chat about something.
Mm-hmm. I think Spidey, more so than most of the characters in the MCU, lends himself towards that. We can introduce younger heroes that we need to. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point we're gonna get a Nova movie announced, and they're like, hey, what'd be great? If Sam Alexander is one of Peter's classmates and one of his best friends, I would be like, oh, because Peter has that ability,
That's really changing Sam up though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that
Sam
the
wouldn't be in that school.
isn't that the MCU though? Isn't that like?
But yeah,
I
'cause,
mean,
I
story-wise,
agree with Myth because Sam isn't the smartest guy.
yeah. I mean, that's just like how plots play out. Yes, the MCU changes things. I think character-wise, no. I think they try to stick as close as they can to that. And I think part of Sam's charm is that he's not the brightest tool in the shed. Like, I mean, maybe have like a neighboring school, and Sam,
Yeah.
being the dumbass that he is, goes to the smart school, and you can play it that way. But I don't think Sam should be.
Because the dumb school was overcrowded and they had to put him somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, like there's ways around it, but I think that Sam needs to be that little bit duller.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, why not? However they handle it, I'm pretty sure they'll handle it in a way that where you mostly like it, I assume.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, because let's just put it this way: when Sam asks where's the bathroom on a hanger, and Wasp is trying to weave through gunfire, that's how smart he is.
So yeah, that's I guess that. Now another question we have here. This will be the last one we take, and I really like this one because it focuses on Doctor Doom. So Doctor Doom, he's inevitably coming to the MCU, and something that a lot of people have been talking about is in the MCU right now, who is buying up Avengers Tower and who's the secret benefactor in Ant-Man and the Wasp that we don't really know. And I've seen countless articles. Norman Osborn, this guy, that guy, Doctor Doom, they're setting stuff up. If Doctor Doom is coming to the MCU, do you make him some sort of global real estate dude or something? Like, how do you handle Doctor Doom in the MCU? Because to me, I want Doom from the comics. I want a ruler who's ruthless, yet he understands his reasoning. I want that gypsy version of him, like, I want that version. Doom doesn't need the MCU changes. Like, he needs to be true to what he had,
And I don't think they would change him up. Like, I think just for the sake of pride with that like property, you stick as close to it as you can. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, no one else has done it right. Why even change it up? Because what's supposed to be right is different to everything else.
Yep.
So just stick to his character and do it that way. But like, I don't think Doom or Norman is the benefactor from Ant-Man and Wasp. To be honest, I think it's going to be Mitch Carson from the first one. And just bring the whole pin particle thing full circle. But that's just me. Because, that's just a hanging plot thread. It's like, oh, look, Hydra has pin particles. Right. No one's ever touched that. So just bring in America Grady and do that way.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I think that could work. And that kind of, again, it's like, when you really get thinking about the next phase, so to say, of the MCU, which direction do they take it in? I have no doubts that once they get, the rights from Fox, Doctor Doom has to be, in some way, at least an entire phase villain, if not an overarching villain, because Doctor Doom is not a one and done. I mean, people argue the greatest villain of all time is Darth Vader. Lucas even confirmed, he's like, oh, when I created Darth Vader, I looked at Doctor Doom and I was like, okay, what did they do good with this character? And I need to make that at a grander scale and make him, crazier and creepier. I'm like, yeah, because Doctor Doom is literally one of the, like, definitive villains, like, in comics. So you can't just throw that character away, and you can't, like, do him disservice. So, it's...
Yeah.
He needs to be more factored into everything that's going on. And going into the next decade, I guess, the next few phases, how do you think they handle that? Like, what would you do? Like, which direction do you take it in?
I like how they did the Thanos route.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just have little seeds here and there and just weave them throughout and then have the big movie. Maybe not 2 movies for Doctor Doom. I don't think he... I suppose you maybe, depending on what you did, that Secret Wars, you could warrant 2 movies. I think for the most part, just leave it at 1. But yeah, I just like just copy that route for every single big villain you're gonna do because it works. Like maybe you learn from your mistakes with Thanos and then you apply it to Doctor Doom. If you make some mistakes with that, then you apply that to the next one, whatever that's gonna be, Apocalypse or whoever, and you just keep working that way. I think it's the simplest thing to do.
Yeah, it really is. You have to, I think, people are used to the Thanos route, but then at the same time, every time they talk about the future, they're like, "Oh, what you know of what we previously did, that doesn't mean we're gonna follow that." I'm like, eh. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So,
But that's one thing you can like go right. Well, that might have been a mistake for Thanos, so let's fix that for Doctor Doom.
Oh yeah, because people all were like kind of complaining about when's he gonna get out of that damn chair.
Yeah. Or how
Yeah.
has he got like 3 gauntlets? No.
can you just like, I can't wait till we get to Avengers 5 and 6, and every single post-credit scene is Doctor Doom still sitting at Latveria, being like, watching a TV. He's like, "I'll strike tomorrow." Maybe next year. It doesn't matter.
It's like, they did this. That's a setback. That's another year. Let's get really meta about it.
It's like, I'm really
like,
taking my time.
It's like Wakanda's getting on my nerves right now. Maybe another time.
See,
Doombot production update. It's like,
what people don't understand is Doctor Doom has been here since Sokovia. He's actually just been collecting pieces of Ultron bots to convert into Doom bots. That's all he's been doing.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
He melted down the main Ultron body and made his armor.
Exactly. That's what he's been doing. There you go. He's covering up his scarred body and face because he couldn't rescue his mom. Good stuff there. Good stuff. So, yeah, that's it for the podcast, guys. As always, we took 2 Q&As and we went over an hour and 10 minutes. So I don't want to hear anything more.
Should have been longer.
I'm just going to say, just quickly, to answer Eggy CTQ's question, Cloak and Dagger takes place, I think, in 2018, but before Infinity War.
Yes.
I'm pretty certain it's like present day.
Dave, I didn't even see that question. Goddamn. So essentially, yes, so let's quickly talk about it. They've confirmed every single MCU TV series season up until Avengers 4. So everything that's even coming this year before Avengers 4 all takes place before the finger snap. So... Yeah,
and you know full well everything afterwards is going to be far enough away they haven't even got to talk about it. So,
yep, that's exactly it. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. We went over an hour and 10 minutes, which means we gave you 10 minutes of bonus content.
Now they want 2 hours. So
get out of here. Next week we're gonna cut it 12 minutes short so we can catch up. It's gotta be. You did this to yourselves. Oh yeah. So. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast, and we'll catch you guys next week here around the same time.